The psychology of moving on. Mentality management. Most people think moving on is emotional, that it happens when feelings disappear, when attachment fades, when someone finally stops caring. But moving on has very little to do with emotion. It's about mentality management, the ability to regulate yourself before situations, people, or pressure start regulating you. Because growth doesn't begin with action, it begins with intention. People who move on cleanly know their intentions. They don't move aimlessly, they don't stay out of confusion, and they don't sacrifice clarity to keep access. They enjoy what they enjoy, without apology. Their interests aren't up for negotiation. They don't dilute themselves to be digestible. They don't abandon what feels authentic just to feel accepted. And they don't compromise their integrity to keep an associate, a friend, a potential partner, or a job that quietly asks them to shrink. They understand something most people learn late. Being yourself doesn't mean staying static. Growth allows improvement, but improvement should never turn into losing your identity just to fit the room. There's a difference between evolving and getting lost in the sauce. People with strong mentality management notice patterns early. They observe who's grateful for their presence and who only values what they can extract. They don't accuse, they don't confront emotionally. They test loyalty respectfully. By pulling back, by setting boundaries, by watching effort when convenience disappears. Bluff always shows itself when access is no longer guaranteed. And most importantly, they know when to say when, because timing is everything. They apologize when necessary. They stand firm when necessary. They retreat when necessary. They learn when necessary. Not out of pride, not out of fear, but out of emotional discipline. No one is perfect, but effort is always noticed by the right people. And this is where moving on truly begins. Not with anger, not with resentment, but with awareness. This is the psychology of moving on. And this is the mindset that growth demands. Is extra energy necessary? There's a moment that keeps repeating in our lives. A moment where we pause and realize, I don't have time for this. If we got paid every time we said that, quietly under our breath, we'd all be rich by now. That phrase isn't impatience. It's intuition. It's your mind recognizing that your extra energy is being spent without a return. Extra energy looks like explaining yourself again, clarifying tone, rewording what was already clear, managing reactions instead of enjoying the connection. And that's the moment where mentality management matters most. Confusion should always be addressed immediately, not aggressively, not emotionally, but clearly. Because it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Handle the misunderstanding, name it, resolve it. Then go back to having fun. Don't skip clarity just to keep the vibe. That's how problems metastasize. Unspoken tension doesn't disappear, it grows. And what starts as, I'll let it slide, slowly turns into resentment, fatigue, and emotional burnout. Here's something most people miss. Sometimes people are difficult on purpose. Not because they're confused, but because they're testing your standards. They want to see how much you'll tolerate, how much you'll explain, how far you'll bend to keep the peace. That's not chemistry, that's a red flag. Healthy people let time reveal intentions. They don't manufacture friction to measure control. And this is where the real question appears. Does your extra energy feel fun? Or does it put you in a dark place? When you're giving from alignment, your energy feels light, natural, enjoyable. When you're over-giving to maintain access, your energy feels heavy, draining, dim. That contrast tells you everything. Because extra energy is never the problem. Misplaced energy is. And when your energy stops feeling like expression and starts feeling like management, it's not maturity to keep pushing. It's self-neglect. Moving on doesn't begin with anger. It begins the moment you realize your energy deserves to feel good where it's being spent. Emotional confusion. Why distance feels wrong even when it's right in self-respect activation. Most people were never taught how to be alone. They were taught how to be occupied. Noise, people, plans, movement. So when distance appears, it doesn't feel peaceful. It feels awkward, boring. Turned down. Almost wrong. Not because something is missing, but because distraction is gone. Some people build an entire personality around avoiding this moment. I'm a people person. I'm an extrovert. Anything to justify never being alone long enough to hear themselves think. But here's the truth nobody says out loud. Eventually, people go home. They occupy lives that don't involve you. They choose routines, relationships, and responsibilities that have nothing to do with your presence. And when that happens, what are you going to do? Find more people? That question exposes the real issue. Is the end game dopamine satisfaction, or is it a business move? If it's business, that's understandable. Networking has intention. But if it's just pleasure, constant company to avoid silence, that's not chemistry, that's avoidance. And avoidance always collects interest. This is where emotional confusion starts. Because distance feels wrong even when it's right. Your nervous system isn't resisting being alone, and it's resisting the loss of stimulation. That's why you can be surrounded by people and still feel alone. When integrity gets compromised to keep company, self-respect goes quiet. You start bending, laughing at things you don't agree with, staying in spaces that drain you, shrinking to stay included, and the cost shows up later. That alone time you keep neglecting, it doesn't disappear, it waits. And when it returns, it hits harder. You'll feel lonely even in rooms full of people, disconnected while being entertained, empty while being busy. That's why self-respect activates through distance. Not loudly, not aggressively, but simply. You don't need to be stern, you don't need speeches, you just keep things simple. You choose fewer rooms, fewer explanations, fewer compromises. And at first that simplicity feels uncomfortable, because you're finally alone with your thoughts. But that discomfort isn't weakness. It's strength being trained. Alone time forces clarity. It builds emotional endurance. It teaches you how to enjoy your own company without outsourcing fulfillment. And once you master that, distance stops feeling like punishment. It starts feeling like alignment, because when you can sit with yourself without reaching for people, noise, or validation, self-respect isn't something you think about, it's something you live. The mindset that growth demands. The aftermath of moving on. After you move on, the story doesn't end. This is the part nobody romanticizes. You're going to miss people. You'll reminisce for hours, replay conversations. Think about what you could have done differently. Feel the urge to relapse into old habits. Old calls, old texts, old routines that once felt familiar. That doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. It means you're human. Moving on doesn't erase memory. It reorganizes it. And here's an important distinction most people avoid. If you truly did something wrong, it should have been discussed properly before cutting ties. Not rushed, not avoided, not buried under pride. Because just like you're moving on from someone or something, there may be someone trying to move on from you. Growth doesn't dodge accountability. It handles it cleanly. But once you've put your best foot forward, once clarity was attempted, boundaries were stated, effort was shown, there's a line you don't cross. You don't get desperate. You don't chase people, places, or situations that already proved they weren't aligned with you. That's how people become miserable. Not because they cared, but because they refused to accept the information they were given. The mindset that growth demands is this. Whatever it was a trial and error experiment. In rare cases, it's okay to rekindle relationships, friendships, or business ideas, but only after weighing your options. Don't gamble your time on nostalgia. Time is the one thing you don't get back. You don't suppress feelings. You don't dramatize them either. You address them privately. You tell yourself the truth. I miss them. I wish things went differently. I didn't want it to end like this. And you let that be enough. For a week, for 2 weeks, for however long it takes for emotion to settle into understanding. This is grief, not weakness. And grief needs movement, not obsession. That's why the best way to move on isn't distraction. It's occupation with intention. You rinse the heart with cardio. You rinse the stomach with discipline, detox, fasting, or a cleaner diet. You rinse the mind with stillness, meditation, self-therapy, reflection. Because your heart and your gut are not just emotional centers, they're secondary and tertiary brains. They hold stress. They hold memory. They hold attachment. And when you don't move that energy, it stays stored. So you move your body, you simplify your meals, you slow your thoughts, and at the same time, life continues. Work still gets done. Business stays operational. Responsibilities don't pause. Not because you're numb, but because structure stabilizes healing. This is where people get it wrong. They think healing means stopping life. But growth means healing while moving forward. Time really does heal all wounds, but only when time is paired with intention. Otherwise, time just repeats pain. The mindset that growth demands is learning how to grieve without going backward, how to miss without chasing, and how to heal without losing momentum. That's what moving on actually looks like. Conclusion: moving on isn't something you do once. It's a decision you reaffirm every time clarity shows up. You didn't lose people, you outgrew patterns. You didn't walk away because you were emotional. You walked away because you became intentional. And the more you trust that process, the quieter your life gets, and the stronger your mindset becomes. If this resonated with you, if you've been navigating distance, growth, or self-respect in your own life, like this video so it reaches the people who need it too. Comment where you're at in your journey, moving on, rebuilding, or just becoming more aware. And subscribe for more psychology-based content on growth, discipline, boundaries, and mindset. For similar content, check out the video titled 5 Phrases That Exposed Fake Friends. Happy New Year! We are the hearts of the world. See you in the next one.